In this video, I'm going to talk about the basics of simple linear regression and the structure of the population regression equations. Let's start with a couple of things about simple linear regression. As I told you earlier, our interest lies in the quantification of the relationship between variables. When we are talking about variables, we can have multiple variables, but just to keep things simple, we are not going to work with multiple variables to start with. We are going to restrict our attention to the relationship between only two variables. And we are not doing this because of its practicality. The major reason we are restricting our attention to two variables is that when we understand the processes and the techniques involved, so it's easier to show you everything when we are working with two variables. Think of it in this way, that while working with two variables, we can also draw some sort of figures to understand what's actually happening. Okay, so this is the reason we are trying to keep things simple to start with, and we are going to focus on learning how to quantify the relationship between two variables. Now, these two variables that I'm talking about, one of these variables is called dependent variable and the other variable is called independent variable. As you can see over here, the general notation that we have for the dependent variable is capital Y, and the general notation that we have for independent variable is capital X. Now, whenever you are working with a particular example, you have to decide on the basis of the theory that which variable you are going to call the dependent variable and which variable you are going to call the independent variable. So let's take a couple of examples to understand this point. So in example number 1, we have two variables, expenditure on food and income. Now think of it in this manner, that expenditure that you do on food depends on how much income you have. So expenditure on food is the dependent variable because it depends on the level of income, and income is the independent variable. Okay. Similarly, let's take one more example. So in example number 2, we have these two variables, wage and number of years of education. Now try to think what depends on what. Basically, the wage that you are going to earn depends on the number of years of education that you achieve. So wage becomes the dependent variable because it is dependent on the number of years of education, and years of education becomes the independent variable. Okay, so whenever you are working with two variables, it's you who have to think which of the variables is going to be the dependent variable and which of the variables is going to be the independent variable. And you can use economic theories or pure logic to figure out that which variable is going to depend on the other variable. Okay, so this is the starting of simple linear regression. We are working with two variables. Now let's proceed one step further and let's try to understand the structure of the regression equations for the population. As you can see on the screen, there is some data over here and the heading is hypothetical example. First of all, let's understand that why are we working with this hypothetical example. Note that while doing econometrics, you have to learn the structure of the regression equations for the population and for the sample. In this video, we are trying to learn the structure of the regression equation for the population. Now the thing is that in real life, you will never have the population data. In real life, we work with the sample data, and this is the reason I'm calling this example a hypothetical example, because this data that you see on my screen, this is a population data and this is completely hypothetical. You are never going to have the population data in real life. So that means you're not going to see this type of table in real life, but we are still working with it to start with, because if you work with this table, understanding the structure of the equations becomes really simple. So let's understand what information is given in this particular table. So the first thing that you have to note is that over here I have written weekly income, which is denoted by X, and over here I have written weekly expenditure on food, which is denoted by Y. Well, it should be clear over here that the weekly expenditure on food is the dependent variable and the weekly income is the independent variable. Now let's understand how to read this particular table. So these values that you see over here, these 120, 150, 180, 210 and so on, these are different values of weekly income. And these values that you see over here, these are different values of weekly expenditure on food. So let's try to understand how to read a particular value. So let's say this 95. So this 95 over here means that a household has a weekly income of $120 and their weekly expenditure on food is $95. So all these 7 households that you see over here, all of these 7 households have the same weekly income, that is $120, but they have different weekly expenditures on food. For example, this particular household's weekly expenditure on food is $105. Similarly, you can understand the other columns as well. For example, if I take a look at this number 204, so this 204 means that there is a household with weekly income of $300 and their weekly expenditure on food is $204. Okay, so this is how you have to read this table. Now, by taking a look at this table, let's try to understand what sort of relationship we have between expenditure on food and income. Now, before we try to figure out the relationship from this table, can you try to think for a second that as per the economic theory, what kind of relationship do we expect between expenditure on food and income? Well, we expect a positive relationship between these two. By a positive relationship, I mean that if your weekly income increases, we expect the weekly expenditure on food to also increase. So we expect a positive or a direct relationship between these two variables. And this is something which you can see from this table as well. So if you try to compare the weekly expenditure on food numbers in the column number 2 and the column number 1, you will see that the numbers in column number 2 are greater than the numbers in column number 1. And similarly, you can compare other columns as well. You can compare the numbers that you have in this column with the numbers that you have in this column. So you can see that there is some sort of positive relationship between these two variables. More income attracts more expenditure on food. So this table is giving us some sort of information, but actually we need more. The thing is that we are working on the quantification of the relationship between these two variables. And when we are working on the quantification, we just need one particular number. For example, the question that I'm going to ask you is that if your weekly income increases by $1, by how much your weekly expenditure on food is going to increase? So this is the kind of question we are interested in. So if I'm asking you this question, then in return, I just expect a single number from you. So if I ask you what's going to happen if your weekly income increases by $1, you should be able to give me an answer in the manner that weekly expenditure on food will go up by $0.5 or let's say $0.7 or something of that sort. Okay, so I'm looking for a particular number. So this table is good. It is giving us some information, but for the quantification, we need to do some more things over here. So the first thing that we are going to do in the process of quantification is that we are not going to work with these multiple numbers over here. We are going to work with their averages. And this is what I mean by that. Basically, this yellow shaded line that you see over here, this is capturing the averages of these columns. So think of it in this manner that there are 7 households who have a weekly income of $120. So what I've done over here is that I have found the average of these 7 households' weekly expenditure. So this 98 that you see over here, this is 83 plus 91 plus 95 plus 98 plus 101 plus 105 plus 113 divided by 7. So this is how this 98 that you see over here is coming. So I have taken the average of the weekly expenditure on food for these 7 households. Similarly, this 116 that you see over here, this is actually the average of the weekly expenditure on food for these particular households. Okay, so this 116 is 99 plus 105 plus 111 plus this is going on till 134 divided by 7. Similarly, this 260 that you see in the last column is the average of the weekly expenditure on food for these 7 households. So this 260 is equal to 227 plus 228 and this is going on till 287 divided by 7. So the numbers that you see in this yellow line, these are the averages of the respective columns. And the reason I'm doing this because it becomes really easy to take a look at the average values and try to figure out the relationship. Now for a minute, try to ignore all these multiple numbers that I have written over here and only focus on these income values. So only focus on the line that is in blue color, which has the X values, that is the different weekly income values, and only focus on the line which is in the yellow color. So if you ignore the other data that is over there and only focus on the blue line and the yellow line, then the blue line is showing you the different values of the weekly income and the yellow line is showing you the average weekly expenditure on food for that particular income level. And as you can see over here, as your income is increasing, your average weekly expenditure on food is also increasing. When your income goes up from 120 to 150, your average weekly expenditure on food goes up from 98 to 116. When weekly income goes up from 150 to 180, your average weekly expenditure on food goes up from 116 to 134. So it's very clear from this table now that when weekly income increases, on an average, the weekly expenditure on food is also going to increase. So instead of working with all this data that we see over here, that is the data for the households separately, I can just focus on this blue line and the yellow line, and that would be much more convenient for the quantification process. Okay, so this is the first thing that you always have to keep in mind, that whenever we are going to talk about the quantification of the relationship between two variables, we are going to talk about the relationship on an average basis. So we are trying to understand that if your weekly income increases, then on an average, how does the weekly expenditure on food going to change? Okay, so that's the first learning that we have got from here, that we will always talk about the average changes in the y variable. Now let's understand some notations. Basically this 98 that you see over here, in formal terms, this is actually called the conditional mean of y, which is the dependent variable, given x is equal to 120. So this 98 is the mean of the y variable given that the weekly income is 120. Similarly, this 116 that you see over here, this is the conditional mean of y, so conditional mean of your weekly expenditure on food, given that your x value is equal to 150. And similarly, this one over here is the conditional mean of y, so this is conditional mean of y, given that x is equal to 390. So all of these numbers that you see, these are conditional means. Note that the word conditional is important over here because this 98 is only the mean of y given that x is equal to 120. So we have a condition. Okay, so if x is equal to 120, then the mean of y is equal to 98. If I change the value of x, the mean of y is also going to change. So if I go from x equal to 120 to x equal to 150, the mean of y is going to become 116 then. And this is what you call conditional mean. Now let's take a look at some formal notations as well, and let me create some space for that. So the notation that we have for this is expected value of y given that x is equal to 120 and this is equal to 98. Over here I can write expected value of y given x equal to 150 is equal to 116. This can be written as expected value of y given x is equal to 390 is equal to 260. Okay, so these are the notations that we have. Note that the importance of 120 is that it is the first value of x. So if I want, I can also call it x1. x1 means the first value of x. This 150 over here, this is the second value of x. So I can also call it x2 if I'm not working with numbers. And this 390 is actually the 10th value of x. So I can also call it x10 if I'm not working with numbers. So I can also write this as expected value of y given x equal to x1. Okay, or I can also write it as expected value of y given x1. Even that is fine. Similarly, I can write over here expected value of y given x equal to x2. In this particular example, the x2 is taking the value 150. I can also write it as expected value of y given x2. Even that would do. And similarly, I can use the same notations over here as well. Okay, so these are the few things that I want you to keep in mind. The first thing is that we are working with simple linear regression, and in simple linear regression we only focus on two variables to start with. Out of these two variables, one of the variables is going to be the dependent variable and the other variable is going to be the independent variable. Which variable is dependent and which variable is independent, that depends on economic theory. So you will have to use your economic theory or plain logic to judge that. In this particular example, weekly expenditure on food is the dependent variable and weekly income is the independent variable. Whenever we talk about the quantification of the relationship between two variables, we are always going to establish the relationships on an average basis. So the questions that we are going to answer will be something like this. If weekly income increases by $1, then on an average, by how much the weekly expenditure on food is going to change. So these are the kind of questions we are looking for. And this blue line over here is showing you the different values of weekly income. And this yellow line over here is showing you the conditional means of Y for different values of X. And as you can see, as per our expectation, as your weekly income is increasing, the conditional mean of Y is also increasing. So when this is increasing, this is also increasing, right? And in terms of notations, the notations for conditional means that I have written over here, these are quite important. Make sure you are comfortable with these notations at this stage. Okay, so we have spent somewhere around 5 minutes taking a look at this table where we got some insights. But the good thing about working with two variables is that we can also plot a graph and visualize all this information. So let's do that. So as you can see over here, I have made a scatter plot now. So on this axis, we have the Y variable, which is our weekly expenditure on food. And on this axis, we have the X variable, which is the weekly income. And these dots that you see over here, these dots are representing these points. So for example, when income is 120, that means when income is at this level, then in total we have 7 dots because we have 7 households over here. So this dot that you see over here, this is 83, and this dot that you see over here, this is 113, and then we have the remaining 5 dots in between. Similarly, for income level 270, we have 7 dots over here. And for income level 270, the minimum value that we have is 166. So this dot is 166 over here. And the maximum value that we have is 210. So this dot is 210 over here. So this is how I have drawn this graph. Now see, in this particular graph, there are so many dots over here. But if you try to take a look at the pattern of these dots, you'll be able to notice that there is some sort of positive relationship between weekly income and weekly expenditure on food. Because if you take a look at the pattern, with the increase in income, the dots are also going up. And when I say that the dots are going up, I mean that on an average basis. So now let's make one addition to this graph. So let's also add these conditional means. So if I add the conditional means to this graph, this is how it's going to look like. So these red dots that you see over here, these are actually representing the conditional mean of a particular column. So the green dots are representing these values over here, and the red dot is representing 98. So this red dot that you see over here, this is 98. This red dot that you see over here, this is 116. This red dot that you see over here, this is 134, and so on. And now if you just focus on these red dots and try to ignore the green dots, you will see that on an average there is a positive relationship between weekly income and weekly expenditure on food. Okay. And to make this clear, I can also join these red points so that you could see it clearly that there is indeed a positive relationship between these two variables. And this blue line that you see over here, this is what we call population regression line. So this is called population regression line. What is the importance of this blue line? Well, this blue line is telling you that how is weekly income going to affect weekly expenditure on food on an average basis. Why am I saying on an average basis? Because we have got this blue line by joining the conditional means of Y. So this red dot over here is the expected value of Y given X equal to 120. This red dot over here is the expected value of Y given X equal to 150, and so on. So we plotted the conditional means of Y and we joined those conditional means of Y and we got the population regression line. Now let me draw a simple figure over here. So think of it in this manner that you have X variable over here and you have Y variable over here. And let's say this is your population regression line. So PRL. The reason this line is so important because this is the thing we were looking for. Think of it in this manner. If X equal to 120, then I know that this value over here is 98. Okay, I already know this. And we also know that if X equal to 150, then this point over here is 116. Now, if I ask you this question that if weekly income increases by $1, on an average, how is the Y variable going to change? Now, if you have the knowledge of this line, you'll be able to answer that particular question. So the question that I'm asking is that if I have X equal to 121, so let's say this point over here is 121, then the question that I'm asking is that what is this value of y over here? Well, if you have the equation of this line, you'll be very well able to answer this question, right? Because once you have the equation of the line, all you have to do is that you have to put x equal to 121 and you will get your average value of y. Okay, and once you get the average value of y corresponding to x equal to 121, you'll be able to see by how much it has changed. And this is what we wanted to achieve. So our main motive is to get something like population regression line, because if you're able to fit a line between two variables, you can answer any question related to the quantification. I can give you multiple values of x and then I can ask you that how are the values of y behaving, and you will be able to answer this question because you have a line which is relating these two variables. Okay. So this is what I wanted to show you. So what is it that we have learned in this particular video is that we are working with two variables and we want to quantify the relationship between two variables. So for the quantification purpose, we only focus on this blue line over here, which has the different values of x, and this yellow line over here, which has the different conditional means of y. And using these two pieces of information, I'm able to fit a particular line over here. This blue line is that line. The name that we have for this blue line is population regression line. And this population regression line is helping you understand that how are the weekly income going to affect the weekly expenditure on food on an average basis. So the main struggle that we are going to have when we move from population to sample is to actually figure out a line like this, because if you have the line, you have the quantification. So this is all for this particular video. I hope this video has given you some intuitive understanding that what is it that we are moving towards. So we are moving towards getting this line. So in the next lecture, our purpose is to figure out what is the equation of this particular line. And that is something which I want you to think of. I'm going to give you a hint over here that you must know this from your basic math courses. If you have a line and if you have a y variable over here and if you have an x variable over here, if I ask you for this equation of the line, then you can write y equal to mx plus c, where c is the intercept term, m is the slope, and these are the variables. So if I talk about the math, okay, so this is not econometrics, but this is something that you should know from your basic math modules. So from basic maths, you should know this, that if I ask you the equation of the line, it is going to be in the form y equal to mx plus c. And if I put a value of x in this particular line, the line will give me the value of y. Okay, so this is how the structure of an equation looks like. I want you to have this knowledge and try to think that what is the equation of the population regression line. So even this is a line, so it is going to follow a structure similar to this. So think about this, and I will cover this in my next video.